Welcome back to Super Sentai Buddies. This is episode 3 of The Spider-Man Who Loved Me, the internet's best and only, maybe, podcast dedicated to the Toei production of Spider-Man. Every week we watch an episode of the show and share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is producer Mark, and with me as always is my co-host and buddy Brian. How you doing today, Brian?
Doing good. I like the fact that you lifted the fact that we do this every week. Like, that's not a dirty lie.
Every week. We only record sometimes.
So do we just run through the episode multiple times until we're like, okay, this is the good one that we can use as a recording?
I drew a computer on the side of a cardboard box. I plug my microphone into it. Okay. I pretend I'm watching the show and talking to you. It's not a big deal.
Excellent. That sounds like you might have severe issues and also possibly have watched this third episode of Spider-Man, I don't know, 20-some times since the last time we recorded.
That is the excuse that I used last week when we recorded You Only Live Man Twice. Matt said it had been several months since we had recorded it, and I told him I had just been watching the first episode repeatedly, waiting for episode 2.
That seems unhealthy.
You know, gotta have your thing. My thing is very specifically Live Man episode 1.
Okay, well, you know, I'm glad you found that in line.
I've just downloaded it onto my iPod so I can watch it while I'm walking. I watch it when I'm showering. I watch it when I'm sitting at work. It's just Live Man episode 1 all day, every day.
That sounds like a torturous existence, my friend.
So we should mention for listeners who are rolling their eyes and reaching for the off button. Do iPhones have an off button? I don't know.
I don't know.
The stop button?
We've gone for a couple minutes. They've already hit it, but so just inform the people who are still here.
So what is going on? As you have noticed, Matt and Dave are not here. Dave continues to be ill. He had a window of time where he thought he was getting better, but that was just a giant joke the universe was playing on him, and he is still sick.
The universe finds it hilarious.
Probably, honestly, what's going on is, if I had to guess, having lived this exact situation numerous times, Dave and his wife and their 2 children are all sick. So usually what happens is, as soon as one person gets healthy, one of the sick people passes it back. It's like this horrible relay race baton. So you can get the same variant of sick cycling through several. So I'm guessing Dave probably had a day or 2 healthy, and then it whiplashed back on him.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's so they were delayed a day already because of some other personal business that was going on, and when they prepped to record today, Dave was sick again, and so here you and I are at 11:00 p.m. on Wednesday night, definitely very well prepared for this podcast that we have been planning these many weeks.
Yes. Assuming these many weeks started at about 9:00 when you told me that we were going to do this.
So I worked my regular job today in my tall office building full of cubicles where everyone goes and wanders around and signs their names on papers and pushes buttons on computers.
Right. Yep.
And then, as I do, I don't know, maybe once a month or so, I went and worked a shift at the market, which is a grocery store / ice cream and sandwich shop that a friend of ours owns. Every now and then when they get real desperate for help, I will fill in for a shift. So I've been up since about 4:45 this morning because I had to shovel some snow here in the American Northeast. It was pretty great. Went to bed late, but not for any good reason. It's not like I was busy doing hard work. I was up late.
Yep. Yeah. Which is going to repeat itself.
Yeah. We are starting that trap again. So then I worked a job, and then I worked another job. And then around, like you said, probably, I don't know, 8, 9 p.m., we decided we were going to record this thing. So it's been a day. Right. But we've got 52 minutes left in that day to talk about Spider-Man.
Yay!
One thing real quick, we're going to do our 5 stars segment, the peculiar version of it that we do when you and I host this show, which is instead of coming up with 5 interesting things that happen in our lives, we cop out and do a top 5 list on a topic we find interesting.
Well, I mean, part of that is because we have a separate podcast, the Mount Olympus podcast, where we don't want to steal from our own segments.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want to chomp our own flavor too hard.
Yeah.
Look, we're 30-some-year-old dudes who live in rural Pennsylvania. There are only so many interesting things that happen to us in a week, and we need to hoard them for our
And
show.
one of them hasn't happened in at least 6 months, so...
So, but before we jump into that segment, I did want to revisit something we did in the first episode of The Spider-Man Who Loved Me, which is pull back the curtain a bit on Matt and Dave J.
Okay.
I think because we've known them for a long time. We've known them for something like 17 years now, going on 17 years.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Accurate and unsettling. Not because they're unsettling. It's just weird that we have friends that long.
It'll be unsettling when we hit 20.
Fair enough. Anyway, so we've known them for a while. In episode 1, I think it was episode 1. It got a 50% chance of that being correct. We told an old college story. Memory serving, it was the one about the time we single-handedly saved the British Empire.
Quite possibly, yes.
But I thought it would be fun to revisit another old Matt and Dave story for the listeners. So, Brian, I didn't warn you about this. I didn't give you time to prep.
Right.
But
so we're going
cuff,
to go off of
can,
faulty memory, yeah.
I would love to hear your memories of the Great Soul Calibur 2 contest.
Team Honor and Tradition versus Team Corporator.
That's the one.
Yes. So I have vague memories of what happened, but it was Matt, myself, you. Was Eric on this team, or was that drafted later?
Eric got drafted in later. He was actually on the Xbox team at the time.
Right. So I guess we should actually explain what the underpinnings of the story are, which are we had a bunch of friends and we bought a version.
Because we're cool happening dudes with all sorts of friends.
Yeah.
This story will totally prove how awesome and popular we are.
Right. What it's going to do is make me forget at least 2 of the players on the other team.
I got you covered. Don't worry.
Excellent. So we were playing Soul Calibur 2 specifically, and we got copies for the Xbox and for the was it the
GameCube?
Yeah,
it was. It had just dropped. We were very hyped for release day for Soul Calibur 2. We had a Dreamcast, if you will recall, freshman and sophomore year.
Right.
So we played a lot of Soul Calibur. And so junior year, when Soul Calibur 2 was dropping, we were very hype.
Right. For whatever reason, Soul Calibur was the fighting game that clicked in college, which probably meant someone had that specific fighting game, and we just, all threw in on it. So what we did was we organized sort of a contest of these 4 guys over here versus these 3 guys over here to see which group could beat it on their console first.
Right, but not one time through, beat the story with every character.
Yes. Every single character.
And I think the only rule was you couldn't trade off players within the run of a character. So each player had to complete the character they were on before it moved on to before the controller could change hands.
Right, yes. So you couldn't, get the one guy who knows all the fighting, whatever. You were just going in order.
Do you remember, just out of curiosity, do you remember how we purchased Soul Calibur 2?
I assume with money, but I believe that is not what you're going for.
No, we did, but it was money that had been stored in a King Edward cigar box.
Oh, that's right. We were fundraising for Soul Calibur, weren't we?
Yeah, and not just Soul Calibur may have been the one that started it, but it wasn't just Soul Calibur. For the entirety of that year, we had a King Edward cigar box on the shelf in Eric and Matt's room. And anytime any of us had loose change or single dollars, we chucked it in the cigar box. And when it built up sufficiently, we bought Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was one of them that we purchased. We bought Billy Hatcher and his giant egg, which Eric never forgave us for.
It didn't even turn out to be an all-time classic either.
No, but it was basically just the 4 of us in a very egalitarian sort of move.
Right.
group collecting our spare change and using it to buy video games. And we bought at least one of the Soul Caliburs that way. The other one, if I'm not mistaken, was purchased by our friend Animat, who had transferred out of Grove City year prior, but had come back to visit us that weekend.
Right. So our team was Matt J, yourself, and myself. The other team was Eric, Animat,
Cody.
Dave, and Cody.
That's right.
Excellent. So that's all of the. Okay. You know who I forgot was there was Animat.
Yeah. So before we
do
started...
we want to explain that nickname? He had a lot of anime.
Yeah, his name was Matt. He had a lot of anime. Right. We called him Animat. So
not a story there, just that's the quick explanation.
Before we started playing, though, we established the bet, the win, the thing we were gambling. And it wasn't like money because none of us had money.
Right.
It wasn't embarrassing pranks because none of us are stupid frat boys.
Right.
It wasn't even pizza or anything, if you recall.
No, it was a victory trophy, which was filled with, was it RC cola?
I think it was. It was some form of cola. I think it was RC. Might have been Pepsi. I don't know.
Right.
It was this small metallic trophy that I believe our buddy Eric owned. I don't remember, just like a little trophy cup, like a sort you get for coming in third in the Pinewood Derby.
Yeah.
It was a nice little chalice, though. I don't think it was an actual trophy. I think it was a standalone chalice, but it was about that size.
Yeah.
And before we started playing, multiple hours of Soul Calibur, we poured this cola into the cup and declared that the winner would get to drink it.
Right. Yes. This, in retrospect, we should have poured the cola after someone won and not 3 hours before.
Because by the time we got there, we learned that victory just tastes like flat metallic cola.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it was victory nonetheless.
Team Nintendo did end up winning, largely as I recall, because poor Dave J got stuck on, I want to say it was Vega. It may have been Voldo. Yeah, it may have been Vega. Wrong game. It may have been Cervantes.
Could have been, yeah.
But he just got locked into this, however the Cervantes progression was, the last or the next, the penultimate matchup was just a real tough one. And for some reason, Dave was having trouble getting his brain around one specific move or something that he couldn't break. And Dave is a really chill dude. And I know most of you guys don't know Dave personally, but his real life persona is not that far off from his podcast persona. He's a very laid back dude. You very rarely see him get mad. But man, that game, by the time he got to the end of that round, he was just incensed.
Which was also good because we had fallen behind for most of that couple hours.
Yeah, that
and we
was
were able to mount an amazing comeback.
I still to this day feel bad for Dave. I have not seen him that angry really very often at all. But it was that very specific angry that video games can make you.
Oh,
when you're running into the same wall and just cannot figure out how to jump right to get over it.
The only thing worse in video games is when you're running into that wall and in your brain you can figure out how to get through it, but your hands will not mechanically cooperate.
Yeah. So real quick, and I stuck that story in there intentionally because our 5-star is going to be a quickie this week.
Yes.
So real quick, Brian, shining in the podcast heavens, there are 5 stars. This week, they are the 5 stars of pancake toppings. So what I would like to talk to you about are What I would like to talk to you about are Brian, are pancake toppings. 5 of them specifically, in any order that you want, but your 5 favorite pancake toppings. I'm not going to get into the story because we're running low on time.
Right.
Podcast audience, you should know pancakes are a very important thing to me. It's not worth explaining why. If you've watched Parks and Rec, the relationship that Leslie Knope has to waffles is basically the relationship that I have to pancakes. I think that's fair to say.
I think that's fair to say. And the first thing I'm going to do is cheat and say that I'm treating my list as if it's waffles because I prefer waffles to pancakes. I don't think this has come up, but I do.
Waffles are great. They're a different thing. Waffles may actually be better for this because waffles are a vehicle intended to be stacked up with a bunch of garbage. Like
this is one of the reasons I pulled this out, because unlike you, I do not consume 700 pancakes a year. I only consume like this particular kind of food, every couple of months. And therefore,
when you are hanging out with me and I make pancakes.
Right. So therefore, when I sat down and thought of it, I'm like, what would I put on pancakes? Well, one thing would be fake maple syrup.
So let's call that star one. Star one for Brian. Fake maple syrup.
Fake maple syrup, yeah. And I'm doing this in reverse order, but yeah. The reason for this is because, spoilers, real maple syrup will appear later. But unless you've had both, you don't understand that they really aren't the same thing at all. They don't taste the same.
Now, one might think that I, as a pancake connoisseur and lifetime practicer of the art, would excoriate you for that choice. But you're not wrong. Fake maple syrup is kind of delicious. And until not that long ago, that's what I grew up on.
I think that's what all of us grew up on, because actual maple syrup is like $500 a bottle.
Right.
It's not that expensive, but there's Hungry Jack does not cost $7 a bottle.
Right. And when you're a kid, your parents aren't really focused on getting you like the high-end elite syrup. They just want some sugar to shove in your face so you'll shut up for a few minutes.
I'm pretty sure that my parents now, even if I requested, would just give me looks if I said, no, I'll have the high-class maple syrup, actual maple. No, not Aunt Jemima, not Mrs. Buttersworth.
Aunt Jemima, man, those are the two worst of the...
I grew up on Aunt Jemima.
Well, I mean, that's
every
all right.
now and
it's
then,
still pancake syrup.
Every now and then, Hungry Jack, but...
Hungry Jack, Golden Griddle, the IHOP house brand, all of these are superior to Aunt Jemima. Anyway, we are already running late. Star number one for me is just butter. Butter, you guys. Base level pancake topping. First the butter, then everything else. Butter on pancakes. It's the way. Real butter, preferably.
I mean,
none of that. Can't believe it's not butter, Blue Bonnet, whatever stuff.
Right.
Butter.
I'm just saying, like, that just always goes on pan. Like, I would never think that the pancake wouldn't have butter on it and then more topping. Are you telling me that? Yeah, just afraid. Star number two for me, strawberries and any kind of strawberry syrup. Delicious.
That is probably my personal favorite fruit to top pancakes, waffles, what have you with.
It didn't make the cut. I could also accept apples, but strawberries, yeah.
Right on. I am going to, with my star number two, say maple syrup. And we'll say real, but I'm with you. Fake pretend maple syrup, good too.
Yep.
But that is my number two. First your butter, then your maple syrup. Classic pancake. Not breaking any new ground.
Nope.
But those have to be 1 and 2. Moving on.
So three definitely needs to be waffles, because I wrote down gravy
put waffles
and chicken
on your pancakes.
No. 3 is things to put on waffles. Gravy and chicken.
Okay.
You would never put that on pancakes? I can't imagine.
I do not know why chicken and waffles are a thing. They are. Is that just a regional thing? We're both from the same region.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know in school, the thing you always wanted was turkey and biscuits, which is very similar to chicken and waffles. I don't know. We want some bread-ish stuff to throw poultry over and then dump gravy over. That's the best meal. I don't know why I'm not having it all the time.
I'm not a big fan of the chicken and waffle combo, but I can see the chicken and biscuit like comparison. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That helps it make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, star number 3. There are no more. Those are the only two options. It is
Okay,
butter and
so
it is pancake.
so
and it
I
is syrup.
I feel like I was suckered into this list. You very deliberately said come up with 5 things. I'm like, but I don't eat pancakes that often. And here I come to find that you were only going to bring 2 things to the table.
I'm a pancake purist, Brian. I can't help it.
I feel like I was like, I'm going to spring waffles on him. But all the while, 17 years and now a dagger in my back.
I'll go a little off the grid here. I will say crushed pecans.
Okay.
If you're going to throw something else on top of your pancakes, and I'll kind of join you in this place. Waffles, French toast, those are your things to get frilly and frou-frou on.
Right.
Pancakes are a simple pleasure for me. But if you're going to get fancy, there's some crushed pecans on there. Really good.
I mean, the rest of my list is real maple and then chocolate syrup and whipped cream. Do you remember there was one time at college we had like a Waffle Bar?
Yeah.
And I think everything that could possibly go on those waffles went on those waffles.
We went at that Waffle Bar like we were 5-year-olds given the keys to a candy store.
I don't believe that anything ever made me as ill as the amount of sugar that those waffles were covered in.
I think neither of us got through like a third of our plates.
It was just like there was chocolate. There wasn't gravy and chicken, but there was strawberries. There was, I think, maple. There was a section with whipped cream and chocolate. There was almost certainly like hot banana syrup.
There was like crushed Snicker bars.
I mean, there was everything.
And listen, our school never made any good food at all. Our school's cafeteria was a joke, at least within our school. Like when visiting sports teams came to our school, they packed lunches. We were a famously bad cafe. So I think what happened is we just saw something delicious and sort of lost control, but man, it is a very good memory.
I mean, it is. I always want to recreate it because the act of eating it was so great until it wasn't.
Well,
I just want to relive the first part of that.
To wrap up for me, my number 4 is fresh fruit. Specifically, I wrote strawberries. I will give black raspberries a nod, but much like pancakes, I keep black raspberries pretty pure. So it is almost like combining the two of them diminishes each of them. Yeah. And number 5, I'm going to go a little off the grid again, and I'm going to say treacle. Have you ever had any treacle on your pancakes?
I don't even know what that is.
It's just molasses.
Okay.
It's been a real long time since I've done that, but my grandma used to put molasses, which for some reason she called treacle. I think that's just like the British word for it. I don't know why she was posh in that one very specific instance.
I don't know either. Treacle sounds significantly less posh than molasses. Molasses sounds like a thing. Treacle sounds like what you say when someone has put a syrupy substance and like, by gosh, that's treacle.
Treacle Mine Road, also where the watch house is in Night Watch, right? Is the one that got restored?
Yes, I think so. Boy, I'm going to be real mad when we're both wrong about that.
So, I think that's it. Is that it for 5 stars?
Oh yeah, we are way long already. We're doing a terrible job at keeping this in line.
That's okay. This is going live to tape. Once we're done, we're just pasting it together and pushing it out to the internet.
Okay, well,
my baby can fly.
Okay, so no editing. Excellent. We should probably go to the show then.
Let's do it. We'll be right back.
Change the apart.
And we're back. Boy, that was a fun program that we just watched right now in real time, as we said we would.
Yep.
As
the 30 minutes that we've left in just to simulate us watching. Said it was going directly to tape. That's what we'll have to do.
Oh, yeah. Good call. As I watched this show, I made the same note I make every time, which is this theme song is amazing.
I'm so glad the theme song happens at the beginning. Like there's no cold open or anything. It's just bam, Spider-Man.
Yeah. Wow. I know, and I know I've said this before. I can't help but say it. The American Spider-Man cartoon has one of the best theme songs of all time. But doggone it if this doesn't give it a run for its money.
Well, the American version of this program was certainly never going to give it a run for its money. As far as I'm concerned, the American version of Spider-Man, like the live action 70s TV show, only exists so that this can exist.
This show is so good. I can't get, every time I watch an episode, I love it more. Like partway through this episode, I was no longer making fun of it for being like a low budget children's production. I was like, man, they're doing some they're making some interesting choices. This is some artistic stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be true, but I'm giving them credit for it because it's good stuff.
Look, we're having fun. We're liking it. It's Spider-Man, that emissary from hell.
So, man, that is a great tagline.
I know.
I was so
want
excited
that
when it
comic
came
book.
up again. I clapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Instead of like the spectacular Spider-Man or the sensational Spider-Man.
Yeah, just Earth 666, Spider-Man and emissary from hell.
So, this episode is called Phantom Thief #1 versus Spider-Man, which already great.
I didn't skip ahead in episode titles, but I have to wonder, like, is there just a Phantom Thief series?
I guess we may find out someday. Why don't we watch this show every week? This show is so good.
I don't know.
I guess because we're watching Hercules and Xena every week.
Sometimes they're good.
They are. They're fun. Anyway, let's get to the show itself. So the show opens on a ninja.
Yeah, who is just scaling down a building.
Not even scaling. He's belaying down a building.
Yeah.
He throws this rope down and he's like mountain climber style hopping down the building, feeding out his slack. And at first, you're like, man, this is an awesome ninja. This is clearly Phantom Thief #1. He has earned this title.
He is the greatest thief of all time.
Yeah, that turns out to be 100% not true.
That was quite possibly the most surprising thing. I'm like, is this not Phantom Thief #1? Because the first thing that happens is the lights flip on and the entire police force is in that room.
Every cop in Japan has caught Phantom Thief #1.
It's like, oh, okay, well. I mean, at first I'm like, is this part of Phantom Thief's master plan? And the answer is no. He just got caught super red-handed by all of the police. Also, in my notes, I may have called Phantom Thief #1 Japanese Adam Driver.
Oh, yes. You are not wrong at all. I made several Kylo Ren jokes.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad we are in sync on this. But yeah, so this episode opens and it's just the cops doing good work. I don't know why Spider-Man's gonna have to get involved. We have already captured Phantom #1.
So he's at the beginning, like we said, he's got this crazy ninja rope thing going on. He's got some ninja jumps. He's got a high-tech, sophisticated window cutting break-in device.
Yep, manages to slice in the window, like pop in, open the safe, put the money in a bag.
He opens the safe like it ain't no thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't even put his ear to it. He's just spinning that sucker. And it's like the cops are throwing him a surprise birthday party.
It's the worst surprise birthday party ever. And it's, at first I thought it's just going to be one lone cop and it'll take him like, no, it's the whole force. They're all here.
The first thing they do is unmask him, too, which is great. Good job, cops.
Yeah, and it's just the face of, well, it's the face of Kylo Ren.
It is basically Adam Driver.
Yeah, it really is. And he's just a sad boy. Like,
which, again, basically Kylo Ren.
Right. He's sad he got caught, and yeah, it's time to haul him off to prison.
The cop's like, why are you wearing that dumb mask?
Your pants aren't high enough.
So the cops throw him in the car. And the head detective, whose name I think was Mamaya, is that right?
Masamoto?
Oh, okay. I may have written down the wrong one. Anyway, the head detective is giving this guy sass right away.
Hey, he's like, you don't seem to be a good thief. Like, I thought the great thief would be far more dashing. And this is where it also leans into, oh yeah, so he's gonna break out and it's gonna be dashing, and nope, just a sad, crappy thief.
The cop says too. Not only does he go in on him for not being great and for not looking dashing, then he's like, "You're just sad. You look sad." Which is the best insult ever because it cuts so deep.
You feel like perhaps this detective has been chasing the thief for, I don't know, 12 years. Like, he seems real personally invested in this case.
Like he's built him up in his mind to be this great nemesis, and it's just this sad boy.
Yeah, which really reflects poorly for the detective.
But we are given to believe early on, by way of the narrator, that Phantom Thief #1 has been terrorizing the city.
I guess.
Which, can we talk for a minute again about how amazing this narrator is? This narrator's the best.
It almost feels like the narrator has sometimes an overstated role, only because Spider-Man doesn't tell anyone he's Spider-Man, which means he can't really effectively have a monologue about what he's going to do, so we just have to have the narrator bust in and tell us.
They just kind of string vignettes together and use the narrator to bridge the narrative gaps between them.
Right. Oh yeah, this guy was a big thief. Yeah, all over town. We're not going to show anything that suggests that was true.
No, that would be way too much work.
Yeah.
But Phantom Thief #1, a.k.a. the very sad boy, does get rescued by a Monster Bem. Monster Bem, right? That's
Machine
what we call the bad
Bem.
guys? Machine Bem. Thank you. Machine Bem. Who looks is he sort of like a bug monster?
It's a giant bug with glowy eyes.
Yeah, like glowy, bulbous eyes, pincery sort of hands.
Right. Blinding flashes of light.
Yeah, that's really his whole deal. Like, this dude is not a fighter. He just, he flashes his eyes so brightly that it blinds everyone.
Yep.
So he shows up in front of the police car, blinds everybody.
And then they have the most devastating crash that you can have at 3 miles an hour.
Yeah. Those guys are cut up, those cops.
Yeah, I don't know what they hit. I don't know how the car is on fire.
Yeah, but then, so the car wrecks and those bird-faced putty guys, the nindoors.
Yep.
I'd forgotten how awesome they were, by the way. I'm getting more and more into them every episode as some sort of weird, performance art thing.
Yeah, they very rarely attack, but they do seem oddly threatening in their dances.
Yeah, and this is part of why I said I stopped looking at this as just a cheesy, low-budget thing and started looking at it as some weird art piece. Because they do. They, instead of having traditional attacks, so normally in all of the Sentai programs and in all of the Power Ranger programs, the putties or whatever variants thereof just run in and sort of do that basic villainy fighty crouch move, with their kind of hunched shoulders and the hands up at their heads, and they're just kind of wiggling back and forth a little like they're gonna Greco-Roman wrestle.
Yep.
These guys have very choreographed, not entirely dance sequences, but very choreographed posturing sequences. And they do some interesting camera work where they'll kind of rapid cut. So there's one of them, and then there's 4 of them, and then there's one of them again. It's really cool looking. I don't know how to describe it via the podcast medium. You should just go grab a clip and watch it because it comes across pretty neat.
Sometimes I go back and forth and wondering, are these editing mistakes or are these intentional artistic choices? And I honestly can't be sure which is true.
Yeah, this is the week that I decided I was going all in on it being an intentional choice. That is just what I have decided. Yeah. So they free the Phantom Thief #1.
Who does not look like thrilled to be freed. So it's not like he was in on this. He's just being kidnapped.
He's still just a sad boy.
Sad kidnapped boy.
And from there, finally, so that's a good chunk. That's probably an opening 5 minutes or so of the show.
Yep.
And it's a good open. And now we get Spider-Man on his spider bicycle.
Look, he loves this dirt bike more than pretty much anything, including his reporter girlfriend.
He truly, truly does. He loves this motorcycle so much. Like all good motorcycle boys do.
Yeah, like he is... I still haven't figured out, and maybe I've just forgotten from the other episodes, but it doesn't seem like he has gainful employment. He just goes and rides his dirt bike all day. Oh, wait, is that his gainful employment?
I think he was a racer or something. Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, sure. He's Johnny Blaze.
I think he is a motocross racer by employment.
Okay, right. Of course, the fantastically lucrative career of motocross.
Yeah. You know, that famous hustle that Spider-Man had.
Yeah.
Motorcycle racing.
Yeah, of course.
I do like that they took Spider-Man's famous hustle from the comic books and sort of transferred it to the girlfriend.
Yeah, because she is a reporter. And so, you know, she basically secretly always is looking for pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah, she and J. Jonah Jameson would get along very well.
Yeah, but she's a news hound, always out for a scoop. And her boyfriend is alternatively encouraging and completely dismissive of this.
Yeah, sometimes he seems to think she's the greatest reporter in the world, and that's awesome. And other times, he kind of just pats her on the head and tells her to get back to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's now granted we are talking about a show that was set in 1970s Japan.
Good point. Good point.
But obviously parts of this are plot induced because she does not know that he is the Spider-Man.
Right.
Which it's one of those things that now, having seen so much media, like, I can see why the secret identity thing, eventually everyone kind of started giving up on it, because boy, does it actually make it hard to tell stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clever for the first couple of years of your comic book, and then it has just pinned you into a corner.
Right, where it's like, now he just always has to be gone.
So
but we still have to leave him gainfully employed.
Yeah, and then you get that dumb gimmick where Clark Kent just seems like a giant pansy who runs away all the time.
Yeah.
So this scene exists basically just for Hitomi,
yep,
who is Spider-Man's girlfriend, to inform him.
And Ace Reporter.
Yes, and Ace Reporter. Why am I describing her according to her relationship to a man? That is ridiculous. She's an Ace Reporter who is also dating Spider-Man.
Right.
And she is telling him last night there was this attack on the cops who had caught the Phantom, and there was this crazy monster.
Which he sounds interested, and then also just at a certain point pulls the ripcord uninterested.
Yeah. Yeah, he's playing along, and then he's like, yeah, whatever. There's no such thing as monsters.
Yep.
Then we get this beautiful scene of Takoya like pondering the Iron Cross army against a beautiful Japanese sunset. Yeah,
it's like, because they're his sworn enemy, and that's just, you know, he needs to hunt for the Iron Cross army. He must be ready to parry them at any time.
And then, my friends, we go full Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, because our old friend Phantom 001 is being light tortured. And when I say that, I don't mean tortured lightly. I mean tortured with light.
Yeah, they're using this crazy bug monster to just like flashlight. It is hard to describe this without making unintentional other puns.
Yeah, they're flashlighting him.
Yes, they are repeatedly blinding him with very bright flashing lights. in an effort to torture him and or
I think disorient him so they can
Right.
eventually switch to the green light of hypnotism.
yeah, they're kind of trying to break him, basically, with the plan of turning him into, like, Mega Spider-Man.
Yes, which is an absurd plan.
I don't understand this plan. So
Look.
in the room are Machine Bem, light flashy guy,
Yep.
the Amazoness, who is like the lead lady
Yep.
of the Iron Cross army,
Yep.
and Professor Monster himself.
Yes. And Professor Monster must kill Spider-Man to realize his dream.
Yeah, so if you recall, Professor Monster is the sworn enemy of Spider-Man's very, very brief mentor, whose name is Garaya. Is that right?
I think so. Who lived amongst the spider people.
Yeah,
Who
he is from
left-
Spider Planet.
Right, he's from the Spider Planet, which is not like infested with spiders or anything. It was just the Spider Planet.
Right.
And so he left one day, like, I don't know, took a vacation, came back, and the Machine Empire had destroyed his Spider Planet, so now they're all sworn enemies.
Right. He fled to Earth, sort of got trapped here or something, and before he died, transferred his powers and apparently his 400-year grudge to our boy Takoya. So now Professor Monster, which, by the way, that is the best name. Professor Monster?
Yeah, it was probably hard working through, like, grad school. It's like, Mr. Monster. Like, Professor Monster.
It's, in my head, it is just like a super literal name for Beast, the X-Man.
Professor Monster. That's probably what the children call him.
So the whole heart of this plan basically is to sort of tempt out Spider-Man, and somehow by doing that learn his identity so that they can then kill him.
Right. I'm not clear why they need to learn his identity, except that someone thought that was, I mean, it kind of is, like, a very integral part of original Spider-Man, which trying to figure out, who is that under that mask. Why the people who only want to kill him want to do that, I'm not clear.
Yeah, this plan
it seems like killing Spider-Man would be easier.
This plan has several too many steps.
Right. Also, I mean, this guy can scale buildings and has a light, agile body, but he is still like a third-rate thief.
That is the best thing, because she's real, like, the Amazoness it just sounds for a minute like she's creepily into him.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to describe the fact that he looks like Spider-Man, but she's like,
Right.
He's lean and powerful and agile.
Yeah. I'm like, where is this going? And he likes to scale buildings. I'm like, what?
Well, that's a weird fetish, but
Right.
okay.
Right. And it's basically, he'll be our evil Spider-Man.
And if that was your fetish, though, like, you had to be looking a long time to find your fella.
Right.
It's just like going to all of these bars, casually chatting up guys. So, what are your hobbies? What are you into? Oh, you like to read? That's great.
Right.
Oh, you're a fireman? That's amazing. How do you feel about scaling buildings?
Yeah.
Ah, dang it.
How do you feel about looking like Adam Driver?
Now that I get.
Yeah.
So they send Mega Spider-Man out into the city to just, like, visibly be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But he's not.
I know. I was like, wait, there's no costume change? No, the only difference is he commits exactly the same crime, but spray paints like Spider-Man was here.
He tags it. It's amazing. It's the best plan.
And the thing is, the only people that this seems to affect are people reporting, not our ace reporter, but, like, the reporters, because the police aren't investigating as if Spider-Man is doing this.
He commits more robberies, and he basically leaves notes that says, "Dear City, this was definitely Spider-Man who robbed you." Signed,
Absolutely Spider-Man. I mean, and in the newspaper headlines, my favorite one is a Spider-Man runs around the city doing as he pleases. A Spider-Man runs around the city doing as he pleases. What does that even mean?
That's what Spider-Man does every day.
That's what a Spider-Man... Like, do they have different Spider-Men? I mean, technically right now they do, but I just...
That is a wonderful headline.
Right. But also, the police not interested in this at all.
No. But Takoya is annoyed that Spider-Man is getting all this negative press, or a Spider-Man
right.
is getting all of this negative press.
He's not going to let this fake Spider-Man do anything.
So he sends Hitomi to go find that detective, right?
Yes. The ones who she seems to playfully harass.
Yeah, she teases him for a while. The cop inexplicably just tells her, like, yeah, so it's just the Phantom. Like, we know this Phantom. This is where he's been hitting. He's probably coming right back here.
And so they go on a stakeout. Just the wounded cop, who I think has his entire hand bandaged up, so that's not going to be good. Hitomi, and then apparently nobody looks up because Spider-Man's just chilling back there.
To be clear, the Spider-Man, not a Spider-Man.
Yes. The real Spider-Man is just, he's just attached to the building.
Not even that high up.
Like 18 feet. You would not be able to...
stories up.
If you angle your head slightly and turn around, you will see Spider-Man.
I'm not even sure you need to angle your head if you just sort of rolled your eyes up towards the horizon a little bit.
Yeah.
So wounded cop and 19-year-old ace reporter are staking out a building.
Right.
Spider-Man is hanging out nearby, also staking out the building. And before we get into the action of this episode, it's a great episode. Lots of action up front, lots of action in the end. We take a pause just for a minute to crack a real timely women's lib joke.
Yeah. Ooh. As I wrote, some punch in the face sexism in the 1970s.
Yeah, boy. It feels very, very, very wrong here in 2018.
Yeah.
But it was so like on the nose. It had to have felt even a little out of place in the 70s. It wasn't thinly veiled or anything.
Right.
It was just like right out there on Front Street.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
I don't really want to talk about that. I just felt like we had to acknowledge it. We couldn't gloss over.
No. Nope. It was in my notes as well. Right below that is where I go back to, does this detective not notice Spider-Man?
Yeah, this is Detective Terrible Detective. So, also, he does not notice Spider-Man, but he also does not notice the Phantom, who has apparently robbed the building that they were all standing outside of before any of them noticed.
Well, apparently, nobody knows his M.O., which is to come from the rooftops, because they just keep staring around at ground level.
Yeah. Not only does he rob a building, he has time to tag it in his signature Spider-Man way.
Yep. And Spider-Man is too late to stop him from looting.
Right. But we do get a Spider-Man chase. What's that excellent Waka Chicka music?
Yeah. This entire soundtrack is funkadelic.
So good. Everything about this show is so good. The soundtrack is phenomenal. There's some real great jazz underscoring a couple of places.
Yep.
Anyway, we get a brief chase scene, and then Spider-Man gets stopped by the bug-eyed monster with his crazy, like, I'm going to flash my bulb light things and blind you.
Is there a reason that no one stabs Spider-Man while he's being blinded?
I don't know.
You guys, what are you doing?
So Spider-Man is blinded. They all run away, and now the newspaper headlines declare that the police are stumped.
Are they?
No, the police know exactly what are going on.
Did the detective come back and like, well, I guess I don't know what's going on, even though I absolutely saw the Phantom briefly for a second, so I know he was there. I know he did this. Nope. Don't have a clue.
The next morning, Takoya is having breakfast with his brother and sister. And I think this is the only shot we get of both of these characters in this episode.
Yep.
This is Shinko, his, I think, slightly younger sister.
Yep.
And Takuji, his much younger brother.
Right.
And they are all living together now since their dad, Hiroshi, the space archaeologist, died.
Yeah. Yep.
Space archaeologist. That's a great name.
Oh, it really is. But frankly, our good friend Takuya doesn't care. He is stuck reading the news about terrible Spider-Man.
His brother and sister are sassing him in the name of their dead father.
Right. Yeah, which is a weirdly jovial conversation they're having that morning.
Right. You know, you deal with grief by humor, I guess.
Yep.
But now Hitomi shows up, the ace reporter / girlfriend, and she has a SAD. She has contracted SAD from Adam Driver in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. Well, she didn't get any shots of anything.
She was right there at the action and got no pictures.
Nope. But now we're back to encouraging boyfriend, saying you'll get some good shots later.
Yeah, he tells her, like, don't worry about it. You're amazing. And this is great. This is great. It's a nice moment where it's like, you're a great reporter. You will get it. Don't worry. Cheers her right up. She tucks into breakfast.
All of the breakfast.
And then he tags his wonderful boyfriend moment by saying, your voraciousness, your hunger, your appetite is trumping your charm. Stop eating like a boy.
Yeah. It's like, Spider-Man, back to being bad boyfriend Spider-Man.
And then Takuya goes basically to lay in bed and have a think for a while.
Right. Which boils down to, I know it's a trap, but I must clear Spider-Man's good name.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, buddy Takuya here. Not quite as bright, maybe, as his American Spider-Man counterpart.
Yeah, although, can we really honestly say that he's any worse of a boyfriend than Peter Parker kind of is, sort of accidentally
that's
all the
very
time?
Fair.
Like, yeah, so,
and he is bright enough to, like, drag out a map and plot out the points of the home invasions to figure out where the next one is going to be, so I guess that's something.
Yeah. And then he just goes trolling out there in his street clothes.
Yeah. And just happens to bump into Phantom, also in his street clothes.
Right. In his Pittsburgh Steeler jacket, which is just why I'm going to refer to that jacket as. It's all black and gold.
You are so right. So he's just strolling downtown. Then this other dude comes strolling past him. And I think we, the audience, are treated to a moment that gives him away as the Phantom before Spider-Man is.
The moment that is, you see his face briefly and it's Kylo Ren, that moment? Or
okay. Yeah, because I wrote Phantom in there.
Yeah.
And this guy kind of pushes his way past our boy Takuya.
Yep.
And then a car is coming.
Yep.
And rather than, because the car is not exactly like flying at him.
Right.
Rather than stepping to the left, or perhaps stepping to the right,
he don't step to no button.
He just leaping somersaults right over that car.
Right. Which I think Spider-Man sees this and thinks, this might be the guy.
Yep. He looks at him and says, maybe.
There must be a lot of jumping over cars like that in Japan.
I guess so.
If this is not enough proof.
But then, about 3 seconds later, he repeats the exact same move to jump over a wall, and seeing it a second time, well, that just nails it.
Right. It confirms that this is fake Spider-Man.
That must be Phantom Thief #1.
Yes. And then we have the most incomprehensible suit deployment that I have ever seen.
What even happened there?
This includes the classic Flash or Reverse Flash having their suit inside a ring deployment.
Right.
Like, the CW made that thing work when Reverse Flash did it. This, I don't know, the Spider-Man suit shoots out to the side, pops up in the air and then falls on him and is just on, and it zips itself.
It's amazing. I love the self-zipper.
So
good.
Yeah.
And now it just turns into a chase scene again.
Yeah. It turns into a chase scene for a bit. Spider-Man catches him pretty quickly.
It's a very short chase scene.
Like, again, this thief is not in Spider-Man's league at all.
He gets unmasked again, you guys.
Right. And then, from nowhere, a bunch of swords get chucked at Spider-Man.
All of the swords.
It's just, what's going on?
The nindoors are back. That's what's going on with their weird, stylish, posturing, choreographed semi-attacks.
Yeah, and they are coming out to surround. Also, the in here, like, the Amazoness pops up, and she has a line like, "I've been waiting for you to show your face. And all I can think of, but not last night, I must have been busy."
Yeah, the first time we tried this plan.
Right.
I just
the
took
first
a
time,
nap.
yeah, it worked perfectly well. We were there. You were even blind, but that seemed kind of unsporting. So, but this time we mean business.
Yep. But this is where we get that beautiful, beautiful drop. The emissary from hell, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. And Spidey starts fighting with spider nets.
He's great. He's just chucking out spider nets. Spider nets, spider saves, spider everything.
Yep. But then blinding flashes, oh no.
You'd think he would have prepared for this by now? We've seen this guy has one move. One move. We've seen it a couple of times. Why are you not prepared?
Look, what's he gonna do? Invent, like, weird eye coverings that would shield him from the blinding rays?
That sounds exactly what Spider-Man would do.
Yeah, that is exactly what Spider-Man would do in this situation. Or, like, design a special type of webbing to deal with this particular enemy. No, Our Spider-Man does not do that. Our Spider-Man just gets blinded again and falls off the building.
Off the building.
Again, I'm not entirely clear why they needed to involve this thief. It seems like if this monster was just walking around blinding people for giggles, that maybe Spider-Man would have come out to fight him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But now the Amazoness is very annoyed with Phantom. I'm not sure why. He succeeded in his plan twice. His whole job was to draw Spider-Man out in the open, and he did it both times.
Right. But, you know, now she thinks, well, the gig is up, so I have no use for you. We're going to throw you off the building.
There's a lot of falling off buildings here.
Yeah, and Spider-Man, like, 10% saves this guy.
He slows him down just enough that he doesn't die on impact.
It really looked like, oh, so Spider-Man is going to just, web him. No, he still hits the ground. That should have broken like half the bones of this guy's
He didn't catch
body.
him. He didn't stick him to a building. All he did was cover him in a net while he fell.
Yeah, that's not how webs work, Spider-Man.
But then Spider-Man hops into the GP7, throws Phantom number 1 into the GP7 with him, and they drive until morning.
I mean, but they were already in the warehouse district or whatever. So my only thought is they didn't drive until morning. They just pulled into like a garage, waited for 4 hours until it was morning so they could drive as audaciously as possible.
I'm with you on that one. I like that.
I mean, it's not even like that car is special on the road. That's just, oh yeah, Spider-Man's driving by.
And
wonder where he's going.
Now, oh dear listener who has journeyed 1 hour into this podcast with us, are you ready for things to get weird?
Really, really weird.
Inexplicably weird. Because Spider-Man and the Phantom Thief number 1 have a heart-to-heart at like a fountain that appears to be in the middle of a dilapidated amusement park.
Yep. Yeah, well, it's a heart-to-heart about why this guy started stealing. And obviously it's something simple like, I was just a poor boy, right? Right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it starts with Spider-Man demanding to know the hideout of the Iron Cross army.
Right.
Kylo Ren doesn't know, and then Kylo Ren looks forlornly to the sky because he hears circus music, you guys.
What?
He hears circus music, and it is calling to him. Not just now, this has been the great call of his life. This has been his mission. He heard the voice of God speaking to him, and the voice of God told him to be an acrobat.
Be the greatest acrobat that there ever was.
And not for his personal pride or vainglory, my friends. Oh, no. But
For
to bring
all the
happiness
children.
to the children.
Right. But
What children, Brian?
all the children. But like that part, like, okay, so you wanted to be an acrobat, which transformed into, but the only way he could figure out how to do that was not to train and become a world-class acrobat and join a circus. He needed to buy and start up his own circus.
Yeah. I mean, run away and join the circus, pal. Everybody does it.
Right. You saw the circus. You probably could have joined a circus. It's still the 70s. They still have circuses.
Yeah.
We didn't close down the circuses and then have our podcasts steal their tagline because they are no longer in circus business.
No, there's a circus. You saw it. It's what inspired you.
Right.
No, he has to steal enough money to... And the thing is, he doesn't even say that. Spider-Man does. Spider-Man looks at him, sees into his soul, and says, oh, I understand. You had to steal money to build a circus, didn't you? Because that's just the best conclusion to jump to.
Which, it's a true conclusion. I kind of wish Spider-Man would point out that, like, you can just be an acrobat. Like, you don't have to own the circus. And then have the episode get into weird places like, yeah, but I like being my own boss. Like, what?
I don't want to be a slave to the man, Spider-Man.
I want to be a slave to the Spider-Man. But yeah. Their heartwarming discussion is interrupted.
Yeah, because the nindoors are back. And they are doing more of their choreographed strange fighting. But this time, it's on amusement park rides.
This is just creepy at this point.
It's amazing. I don't even know how to describe how awesome this sequence is. It's this weird, trippy... The only thing I can figure is there's like some art student fresh out of film school got real high and made this episode.
Bless him, because once we were in the weird amusement park, I knew we were in for some good stuff.
And it was so good. We just saw nindoors like riding the teacups and riding the fake Dumbo machine.
Got Spider-Man like jumping into a teacup and then disappearing and then reappearing. And
yeah, there was weird, like, psychedelic Waka Chicka chase scenes in and around this sad amusement park, and it was the best.
Right. Then you have Phantom Thief 1 surrounded by nindoors.
Oh yeah, that happened because he's an enemy now.
Yeah. Yep. They're going to take him out just as well.
But then the cops show up.
Right. And apparently the nindoors don't deal with the popo because they just disappear.
It's the best, like they're scared of the cops.
Yeah. And he just turns himself in, asks very, very nicely to be cuffed, and he's going to tell the whole story and, tell about how Spider-Man is a great hero and he wanted to join the circus.
Now, suddenly, we smash cut to Spider-Man in the woods.
Yeah, well, he's just driving around, looking for stuff.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of fighting in the woods. The bug monster shows up again.
Yep.
He's like, ah ha ha, I have you now, Spider-Man. I will blind you again with my blinding light power.
But apparently, and I did not know this, if you shine like tightly focused blasts of the brightest light that there has ever been ever, but it's daytime, in the daytime they don't work.
Yeah, the sun just soaks up that blinding laser light.
Which also means that this monster has never attempted to blind anyone during the day.
Hit Crimson style, Brian.
Yeah, yep. He tried, and it's just a, haha, you can't blind me, it's daytime.
I love it. It is the best thing. Spider-Man beats him by being out in the day. And that's there's some more. We're going to get in a little bit of some more, but that's effectively the end of the episode.
Right,
Everything
doesn't
from
work in the day. Suddenly, it's giant machine bem Genyochu.
Machine Bem Genyochu.
Yep. Yeah. Again, I'm not sure it is helping them to only name the machine bems 12 seconds before they die, but, it's what we got.
And then it just progresses like... So far, every one of these have progressed, which is GP7, Marveler, Leopardon, Arm Rockets, Sword Vicar.
Yep. Yeah, like, Leopardon don't play.
No, he does not.
He just progresses straight along the path until he can get the Sword Vigor, and then Monster is Dead explodes.
Yep, it's pretty great. You get the Arm Rocket Fisty Punch thing.
Yep.
Then you get the Arc Turn, helmety boomerang thing.
Yep.
Both of which just seem to be him like kind of flexing and warming up for Sword Vigor.
Yep. And he just kaboom. Just kaboom, that's it. And then we kind of segue into like the end credits. Talking about how the lonely battle continues.
Not only continues, the lonely battle relentlessly continues.
It's weird because this show seems alternately like, haha, triumphal, and also very dark and sad and brooding.
So should we get out of here, Brian?
I think it's time to get out of here. I will just put one note if you do plan to drop this straight to wherever. I apologize for any cat meowing you may have heard throughout the episode.
It'll just add flavor. It's fine.
Yeah, cat flavor.
Well, that just sounds weird.
Sorry, I made it weird.
So tune in next week when we will definitely be talking about Spider-Man episode 4,
right?
The Terrifying Half Merman.
Yay!
Subtitled The Miracle Calling Silver Thread.
I'm not sure. Is this like Rocky and Bullwinkle subtitles where the 2 episode titles make no sense when compared to one another? That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
We should probably end. We're just spiraling now.
Until next week, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully Matt and Dave will be back next week. And in the meantime, you can find us on all of the internet Twitter things.
Yeah, all of them internet Twitter things.
All of those things. You can find at Super Sentai Brothers on the Twitter things. And if you're interested in hearing Brian and I and our very good friends Meg and Lucas do pretty much this exact same show, but instead of talking about Japanese children's programming, we talk about Hercules and Xena from the mid to late 90s. You can find us on those same Twitter things at Mount Olympus, or Mount Olympus Pod, I believe.
Mount Olympus Pod.
We're on the things. We're on the internet. Just go listen to the outro of last week's episode for what all of the actual names are. I didn't write them down.
Now we're just getting hostile here at 12:15 in the night.
I'm not your boss, internet. Neither am I your servant. Look up your own things. Until next week, I'm producer Mark.
I'm Brian.
And we will see you next week for the greatest show on earth.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man.